So let's begin by talking about what is anger. What is it? Anger is often conceptualized as behavior in traditional anger management courses and programs, and this is a problem. I'll tell you why it's a problem because when we conceptualize anger as behavior, we focus our interventions on anger management or anger control. We conceptualize anger as something that we can actually shift and change just by changing our behavior. And that's not necessarily true because, hey, if someone has just called someone you love a really horrible name and you want to punch them in the face, you might deflect that by taking a deep breath and counting to 10 and walking away, but you will not have changed the way you feel. You'll still be angry. Behavior management and anger management, not really the way we want to go if we want to see effective problem solving. So let's take a look at what anger actually is. Anger is defined as a strong feeling of displeasure or hostility. Displeasure or hostility, those are feelings, not behaviors. So, what happens when we are feeling angry? A rule is being violated or broken. A boundary is violated. Our needs aren't being met. Our expectations have been let down. That's what's happening. And anger comes up as a feeling. It's a feeling that lets us know that something in our life is not exactly right. It's alerting us to the fact that there's a problem. And so, what we need to do instead of trying to shift behaviors is we need to focus on the problem that generated the feeling of anger in the first place and solve that. And so that's how we conceptualize anger and anger solutions. So we don't like to call this anger management. We like to call it anger resolution. And the reason that we do that is because we're focused on solving problems as opposed to changing behavior. Here's the clue. Here's one of the first keys to success of anger solutions is that we have come to understand that if you solve the problem that caused the anger in the first place, the behaviors will shift and you'll be more safe and appropriate in the way that you work on solving that problem. There's a growing need for this. As I mentioned in the introduction, I just recently did a presentation for a conference on education in which I was talking about the rise in school violence and violence among teens and youth. I don't know if you realize this, but in the last 30 years, the overall rate of violent crime has gone down both in Canada and the United States. But what's really interesting is that the rate of violent crime among youth and teens has increased exponentially since the 1990s. Since Columbine, just as an example, it's estimated that over 300,000 students across America have experienced gun violence. Just think about that. Over 300,000 students in America have experienced gun violence. If we look at the gun violence and violent crimes with a weapon in Canada, we see that the majority of those crimes are being committed by young people under the age of 24. So there's definitely something going on in which people are not sure how to deal with their big feelings because we focus so much on doing the right things rather than thinking the right things and processing our problems in the right way. And so we want to change that through what we do in our anger solutions work. Let me talk a little bit about why traditional anger management is obsolete. We've already talked about some of the reasons. One of them, of course, is because traditional anger management, as I've said, focuses on behavior rather than emotion. And so it's looking at shifting behaviors without giving people the tools necessarily to shift their mindset, to shift their beliefs, and to shift their attitudes so that they work more on problem solving and less on just fixing their feelings. So aside from that, traditional anger management is not standardized. There's no consistency in the way that those programs are delivered. Some are built on narrative therapy, some are built on DBT, some are built on CBT. Everybody has a different approach. There are probably as many anger management approaches as there are therapeutic modalities. And so if you're trying to, to treat every problem like a nail, you're going to come at it with a hammer every time, but sometimes a hammer isn't what's needed. Sometimes we need to be diverse in the way that we work through these problems. Anger Solutions is different in the sense that it applies a variety of different treatment modalities: CBT, REBT, reality therapy, choice theory, solution-focused approaches, strength-based counseling, mindfulness-based counseling. We apply a bunch of different modalities because that gives us flexibility in how we treat the client. And so this is sort of like your old school anger management on steroids, right? We are amping this up so that we are giving the client the best of every treatment modality and pulling it together in a comprehensive way so that they are guaranteed the best results. And the other thing about Anger Solutions is that because it is standardized, because it's consistent in its delivery and its approach and its messaging, we can guarantee ongoing success no matter how many times you use the program. So that's a little introduction into what anger is, how we conceptualize it, and how we are perhaps the new, improved, if you think about anger management as a car, you're looking at the Ford, the early edition. I'm sorry, I don't know cars all that well, but the early edition Ford, the Model T, that's the one I was thinking of, right? We're thinking of the Model T Ford. It was a good car. It got people to point A, from point A to point B, but there have been improvements since then. So you could go on and keep driving your Model T Ford, or you could upgrade to the most recent, Ford Mustang Shelby edition with a supercharger and all those sorts of things. That's the difference that we're looking at. We're looking at a vehicle that will deliver versus a vehicle that delivers with punch, with speed, with accuracy every single time. That's what Anger Solutions is going to do for you. So I would like you to do an activity at the end of this module, and that is I'd like you to write down some of the things that you would love to help clients change in their lives. Is it to reduce the amount of times that they outburst at their families or at work? Would you like to see your clients improve their employability, their ability to maintain employment once they achieve it? Would you like to help your couples to communicate more effectively with each other? Would you like to teach them how to fight fair? What is it that you're looking to do and achieve in your own private practice or in your agency practice as a mental health worker, an addictions worker, a social worker, a psychotherapist or psychologist? What is it that you are hoping that you can help your clients to improve or achieve through helping them with their anger? Make a list of those things and then bring it back to the next module and we'll talk about that a little bit.